completing the square. Fun, fun. Now, first we need to review completing the square, which all of you in here probably need to know. Remember that when we're completing the square, we are given, in this form, we're given ax squared plus bx, but we are not given c. You guys remember ax squared plus bx plus c as your standard form. We need to complete the square by figuring out what c is, and we have a formula for that. C is equal to b divided by 2 squared, which b is the number in front of the x. So to complete the square here, I need to find what c is. My b in this case is what? Anybody? 6. So 6 divided by 2 squared. And it's helpful to write down this next step because if you'll remember, it tells you what to put in when you factor it. 6 divided by 2 is what? 3 squared, which is equal to, show your work on this step when you're doing this stuff every time. So to complete the square, I'm going to complete the square by adding that right there. So I'll rewrite this as x squared plus 6x plus what? 9. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because this now factors into a square. Factors in to put an x here. Two numbers that multiply to get 9, add to get 6 are plus 3 and plus 3. And since they are the same, I can write this as x plus 3 squared. And I have now completed the square. And it's easily factorable. If you notice the 3 here corresponds with the number we get is basically, this is number right here is always b divided by 2 when you do this. Okay, that's how you complete the square. Today's lesson is we're going to solve by completing the square. So what we're going to do is they're going to give you an equation. Let's say x squared plus 6x minus 10 is equal to 0. We're going to solve this by completing the square. So what we're going to do, and the reason I did this one is because it looks a lot like this one. If you notice, the a and the b are the same right here, correct? Now, what I'm going to do is I don't want this, the c that we have, to be here. So I'm going to get rid of it by adding the opposite, add 10. But to keep the equation balanced, I have to add 10 on the other side. So now I'm left with x squared plus 6x, and leave a space here, is equal to 10. Now I've got a situation where I can complete the square on the left side of this equation, and that's what I'm going to do. So, what I am then going to do is I need to find c. c is b divided by 2 squared. So in this case, like we did up here, c is 6 divided by 2 squared, which equals 3 squared, which is 9. So what I need to do is I need to add 9 here. But I always have to keep an equation balanced. So if I add 9 to the left side, I have to add 9 to the right side. So when you simplify this, you are now left with x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to, now instead of 10, it's 19. Now what we do is we factor it just like we did up here. And to save a step, you know it's going to be a square, correct? So what is the square root of 9? 3. Same as that. All of that's equal to 19. So this is what we've done. So what we're going to do now is we are going to solve for x with this equation. Once we get it like this is where it kind of probably in your mind gets a little weird. So what I'm going to do, when I have it in this step right here, if you'll remember, if I had x squared is equal to 19, this is a separate example, don't write this down. To solve this, I took the square root of both sides, and I put x is equal to a positive negative square root of 19. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing here. It's just instead of, when I take the square root of both sides, when I take the square root of x plus 3 quantity squared, the answer is x plus 3, where here it was x. And all of this is equal to a positive negative square root of 19. And what you've got to get over is in this assignment, you will have basically ugly answers. You will have things like square root of 19. Don't worry about simplifying the square root right now. All I care about is you understanding that it's positive, negative square root of 19. Now to solve for x, I know it's ugly, but what would you normally do if there was just some number over here? You would do what? Subtract what? You would subtract 3 from both sides. So x is equal to a negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 19. And believe it or not, that is your answer. And that's how you're going to do these problems. So first, you're going to make sure that if there's just the a and the bx term on the left side, you're going to do that by adding the opposite, whatever your c is. Then when you do that, you're going to complete the square by adding whatever your c should be to both sides. Then when you're done with that, you're going to factor it to where it'll be a square. Then when you're done with that, you take square root of both sides. Remember that the square root of 19 becomes a positive negative square root of 19. And then you're just simply going to solve for x. And as you see, there are two answers, negative 3 plus square root of 19 and negative 3 minus square root of 19. Well, we'll do more examples tomorrow, as I know I'm not here, and this is tough on you, but this is a quick look into this section. Let's do one more, and then we'll be done. We're going to, again, start with a basic problem. Let's make it x squared plus 10x. Or check that. Let's make this x squared minus 10x plus 15 is equal to, let's make this plus 35 is equal to 0. Actually, change that. Make this minus 35. So, what are we going to do here? First thing we're going to do is we want to get, right now it's in the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. I want to make it basically look like ax squared plus bx is equal to c. I want to get rid of this c and I want to take it to the other side. So the opposite of a negative 35 is a positive 35, so I'm going to add that to the left side. Whatever I add to the left, I have to keep the equation balanced and I have to add it to the right. So what you're left as a result is x squared minus 10x, leave a space, is equal to a positive 35. Now, at this point, this is where we find out, we complete the square and we find out what our c is. Our c is b divided by 2 squared. So our c in this case, our b is a negative 10 divided by 2, and I square it, which this gives me a negative 5 quantity squared. Remember that number. Negative 5 squared is a positive 25. So what I do, this is my c, so I add 25 right here, and then I what? Add 20. I have to keep it balanced, so I add 25 on the right side. But remember, you must pay attention to what you got here. Because this is a negative, I need the two numbers that multiply to get 25 and add to a negative 10. And those two numbers are negative 5, negative 5. As you notice, that was a negative 5, so what did that become? A negative 5. So I've got quantity x minus 5, quantity squared is equal to, simplify here, you get 60. Okay, now we've got it to where we can solve. Remember I said this is just like having x squared equal to, at this point you take the square root of both sides. What number squared is x minus 5 quantity squared? Well, this gets rid of your square and just makes this x minus 5 equal to, for right now, even though you could actually simplify that square root a little bit, I don't want you to do that. Leave this as a positive negative 60. Don't worry about making a decimal or anything like that. One thing left to do is to solve for x. Add 5, x is equal to 5 plus or minus the square root of 60, and that is your answer. Your assignment is numbers 1 through 10. As you would imagine, with only 10 problems, you're going to write the problems, draw the figures, show all steps and work, and do them exactly how I did in the 2 examples here. I will upload this video now, so if you need to see it again, you can. Don't forget to tell Ms. Durter to pause or something if she needs to. Okay?